Week 8 is here, and I'm going to take a look at some of the lineups being generated in the Stokastic NFL DFS lineup generator. I'm going to be looking at both DraftKings and FanDuel in this video. I've been separating them some of the time, but due to time constraints, I'm doing them both in this video today. I'll start with some DraftKings lineups, then I'll look at some FanDuel lineups as well for those interested. While you're coming in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. It's only $14.95 per week if you have not yet signed up for the lineup generator. The link is in the description of this video. And when you sign up, you get both DraftKings and FanDuel. You get the main slates. You get every primetime showdown slate. So you get a lot of bang for your buck with this tool. I think that it is the best point per dollar. Is that the best way to say it? It's the best value in the industry in terms of the powerful tool that you're getting for a low price here. Every single lineup that you get in the lineup generator has been run through the stochastic sims, and only the positive EV lineups, the long-term profitable lineups remain. Any bad lineup has been thrown out. So you're only getting good lineups here in the lineup generator. All right, let's start by looking at some DraftKings lineups. I'm going to do all stack types. So that'll give me a mix of one-man stacks with run back, two-man stacks with a run back. As you see here, you can choose different stack types if you want to. I'm just going to let it give me the best lineups that it wants to give me. I'm also going to choose all lineups here for the main slate. That'll give me a mix of chalky, balanced, and contrarian lineups. I like to kind of spread out my types of lineups, so I think it makes sense to go to all lineups here. All right, I need to apparently clear these. So let me start over a new crunch. All right, so getting more lineups. All right, Kenny Pickett is our first quarterback paired here with George Pickens. We got Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram on the comeback. So this is kind of interesting. We've got the double pass catchers from the Jags as the bringbacks to just a single stack with Kenny Pickett and George Pickens. I guess this kind of makes sense. If you Kenny Pickett just going off throwing almost a lot to George Pickens. George Pickens getting a lot of the fantasy points for the Steelers, but maybe the Jaguars spread it out a little bit more. Kenny Pickett also significantly cheaper than Trevor Lawrence, I think, is like 6,200. So allows you for a full game stack here. We got Tony Pollard in there, kind of chalky there, but he's 7,500. Tony Pollard, pretty nice usage there for the Cowboys. Ramondre Stevenson making it into this one at just 4% projected ownership. We've got Nico Collins making it in here. Nice matchup with the Panthers. Interesting Giants defense in there. Going up against Zach Wilson makes some sense. So this all looks good to me. Brandon Ayuk, generally going to be better without Debo. He was not last week, but in general, you'd expect him to be a little bit better here. So looks like a really strong lineup to start with. All right, let's take a look at a couple more. Second lineup, we got CJ Stroud paired with Dalton Schultz. A lot of different ways you can go with Texans stacks this week. Don't have any bringbacks here from the Panthers that I see. Tony Pollard making it in once again. Alexander Mattison, nice matchup with that Packers defense at low ownership. A little bit of ambiguity there and who's going to be getting the runs for the Vikings. Cam Akers kind of carved out a little bit more of a role for himself last week, so we'll see if Mattison holds, but it leads to low ownership for Mattison. And if you assume he's going to continue to be a bell cow, he's going to look really good. Jalen Waddle in there for the Dolphins at just 3.5% ownership. Michael Pittman at 3% ownership. We're getting some really contrarian pieces in our lineups so far. And you can see here this one on the far contrarian end of the spectrum in terms of ownership. And then all of these lineups are going to project pretty well. You're not going to get any lineups that don't project well in the lineup generator. Let's take a look at another one. Lamar Jackson. All right, I love it already. Going to be one of my primary quarterbacks this week. Lamar Jackson paired with Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr. here. No bring back from the Cardinals in this one. We got Christian McCaffrey. So that's you're paying up right away. Jackson and McCaffrey both making it into this lineup. We do have the Bengals have been a little bit of a run funnel so far this year, so nice spot for Christian McCaffrey. Breece Hall looks fantastic this week against the Giants defense at just 5,900. He's a little bit too cheap for his role. Josh Downs in what should be a somewhat fast-paced game with the Saints. Kendrick Bourne there in a nice matchup with the Dolphins. Looks like a nice lineup overall. I liked it. All right, now I'm just going to go through and see what our ownership looks like after I've done a full run. Interesting. So we didn't get him in any of our early lineups, but Jake Ferguson ended up in 50% of our lineups. Makes sense. He's just 3.6K going up against the Rams. Evan Ingram, we were getting in our early lineups. Looks nice. 40% exposure for us so far in these lineups. 4.5K salary is pretty nice. Seahawks defense, that's sort of interesting. The Seahawks making it into 35% of our lineups. I did not anticipate seeing so much of the Seahawks in our lineups, but a nice spot against the Browns with a backup quarterback in there. So it makes some sense that we're going to get to some Seahawks. Brandon Ayuk making it into 30% of our lineups. Alexander Madison 30%. Kendrick Bourne 30%. A lot of players. Christian Kirk, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence all at 30% as well. Looks like a nice mix of different lineups here. That's kind of what you do. When you do a mix of chalky versus contrarian lineups, you're going to get a wide spread of different players. And it looks like we got a lot of very diverse lineups here, which is kind of how I like to play it. I don't want to be too condensed. So this looks like a nice lineup set here on DraftKings. Let's take a look at some FanDuel lineups as well. So I'm going to go FanDuel main slate, all stack types, all lineup types. All right, first lineup we see on FanDuel, we've got Tua paired with both of his receivers, full on stack here. Tua with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, no bring back from the Patriots. Getting to some Alexander Madison. Miles Sanders, interesting, great spot against that Texans defense. A little bit unknown what the workload is going to look like for Miles Sanders. Chuba Hubbard has kind of carved out a role for himself as well, so who knows what the workload will look like, but at 6,300 against that Texans defense, Miles Sanders works well if you think he's going to be at the very least 1A, maybe just the top running back there. Christian Watson facing the Vikings, 6,300, 6.1% ownership looks pretty good. A little bit of nice correlation here with Watson and TJ Hawkinson and Alexander Madison as well. So kind of a mini game stack there without the quarterback for the Packers and the Vikings. We got Michael Thomas in this lineup as well at 6.5% ownership. And then again, the Giants going up against Zach Wilson look pretty good here. All right, next lineup, we got Derek Carr with Michael Thomas and Rashid Shaheed in what is expected to be a pretty fast-paced game with the Colts. We got Josh Downs coming back at 4% ownership. Looks pretty nice. Rashid Shaheed just 1.4% ownership. That's pretty interesting. He's only 5,600. Eagles defense in there against Sam Howell, who just gets sacked a million times a game. Makes sense, I think, to pay up for the Eagles in some lineups this weekend. We've got him at just 7% projected ownership. Brandon Ayuk in there. We got Tony Pollard in there. We got the McCaffrey and Ayuk together for the Niners there in the same lineup. Let's take a look at one more. Kenny Pickett with Connor Hayward, the backup tight end coming in now. Now we should be starting. We have McCaffrey, Javonte Williams as our running backs. Tyreek Hill making into this one. Brandon Ayuk again. Tank Dell at 11.5% ownership. Evan Ingram, 11% ownership. Colts defense making it in there as well at 4% ownership. So kind of a nice mix of different types of lineups here. All right. Oh, and we do have Evan Ingram as the bring back here with Kenny Pickett going to Connor Hayward. Ingram, the bring back there. All right. Let's go through and just look at our exposures at the end. Looks like we're getting 40. I think we got some bonus lineups there. Yes, we did. Very nice. All right. We got to 42% Tony Pollard, 38% Jake Ferguson, 33% Christian McCaffrey, 30% Madison and Falcons defense. And then it's a little bit more spread out after that. Who's our top owned quarterback here? Dak Prescott against the Rams looks really good. Interesting. Trevor Lawrence making it into just as many lineups actually as Dak Prescott. Lawrence against the Steelers there. And then, of course, paired with Ridley in some of those lineups. Seemed like we were getting a lot of the Jags early on, but we didn't end up more than 17% of any of them. We got you. Sorry, 23% Evan Ingram is our highest exposed. Yeah, he's just 5.7K. Nice price tag there on Ingram. We're getting some Lawrence, some Calvin Ridley in those lineups as well. No huge shocks here. These kind of look like the players that you would expect, but pretty spread out. Our highest exposed player just 42%. As I said, I like spreading out my lineups, so this looks like a nice lineup set to me. Again, every single lineup you get here is going to be a plus EV lineup. You're not getting bad lineups in the lineup generator, but I do recommend running it as close to lock as possible because we might get some breaking news that's going to change the scope of the slate, might have some value popping up, maybe ownership changes by tomorrow. So I'm looking at this on Saturday. I'd recommend when you run it for yourself, you do so on Sunday. And again, if you haven't already signed up, the link is in the description of this video. Hit the like button if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching. Good luck this weekend.